Okay, so we're going to start with the sponges, talk about where fake sponges came from. Then we're going to move into jellyfish, talk about where, all those super fun things about jellyfish. Jellyfish are awesome. So sponges are parazoans. Parazoans lack true tissue. This is what a sponge looks like, in case you've never seen one. They're sort of these tubes, because when it comes to, animals are tubes. They're like these tubes that have room for water to flow through them. Think almost like screen doors. Yeah. They are actually mobile at some point in their life. All animals are mobile, and this is an animal. So sponges have flagellated choanocytes. So these are like those choanoflagellates. Those choanocyte cells that look just like choanoflagellates beat their cilia. And they beat their cilia, they're talking back and forth to each other in one direction. And that causes water to flow into the sponge. The plankton that are being pulled in through with that water current are caught by cells called amoebocytes. These are like little cells that act like amoebas. So literally, one group of cells is pushing water toward it. The other group of cells is absorbing any plankton that come through and digesting them. So they're able to pass nutrients back and forth to each other. Now, there's no digestive system, though. There's no way of distributing it. So really, it's only the cells that are immediately surrounding where that food comes in that get that free nourishment. So sponges have very sharp spikes on them, made of proteins that are called spongins. And those are used to deter predators. And we've co-opted these sponges to sort of gently exfoliate. Have you guys seen these things? These are sponges. You've seen these in the store before. So these look like the skeletons of a sponge. Sponges do have skeletons. That spongin actually connects to other proteins and forms these outer structures. So what originally, back during earlier in human civilization, what people would do is go diving, grab a sponge out of the water with gloves, I assume, bring it to the surface and let them dry. When they dried, they left this husk behind, and then they would use that to remove debris and detritus. Now, the sponges that we have to soak up water, that came, again, from the idea of the sponge, because if you took a sponge out of water and it started drying out, if you put it back into water, it reinflated, and it sucked up that water. Now, though, we don't use live animal sponges. Actually, this is a gourd. It literally has the exact same structures as a sponge. It's not even an example of convergent evolution. They just happen to develop in the same way. So we use these gourds now that are dried out to clean ourselves. But we still call them sponges because history. So that's the sponge. Now I'll talk about jellyfish. Moving away from the parazoans, we move to the eumetazoans. Now we said Radiata only has two cell layers, an endoderm and an ectoderm. So they have an inside and an outside, but no middle. Jellyfish, obviously they move around, they do things. You guys have seen them. If you went to the aquarium, you'll see them moving around lazily through a current. Jellyfish have two body forms. The polyp form, which is this form that doesn't move terribly much, and the Medusa form, the one that's free swimming. The life cycle of the jellyfish is you go from larva, produced by the Medusa, lands. When it lands, it grabs on tight and holds onto a substrate, usually with glycocalyx, because, you can't escape glycocalyx. Holds on tight. And then it's going to grow. But it doesn't grow just one polyp. It starts to create almost a stack of polyps just by constantly mitotically dividing. So they grow and they grow and they grow. Do you guys know the food bugles by chance? Okay, as long as you know, of course, Leslie, you know. You got bugles. There's a few things you can do with bugles. One thing you do with bugles is which fingers? You put them on your fingers and you kind of go, okay. And the other thing you can do is stack them one inside of the other side of the other until you get this massively tall bugle. And then you eat them, right? The strobila is like taking those bugles and stacking them on top of each other. The one at the tip is the most mature. So what will happen is it will break off when it's big enough, and go swimming away to become an adult. So these polyps can be seen here. They stay in one spot. They're sessile, and they grow to produce feeding polyps and reproductive buds. That's their job. The Medusa becomes that free swimmer. And it's the Medusa that you most often run into, usually accidentally. Medusa have this bell shape. That shape has an outside, the ectoderm, and an inside, the endoderm. And it has an opening at the bottom that serves as both the mouth and the anus. It brings food in, it digests it, and it removes waste through the same opening. Usually, along the bottom edge, you're going to have the sensory organs, its eyes. That's how it detects light. That's how it knows which way to move. Some of these jellyfish are going to have specialized cells called nematocysts. Again, animals have specialized cell types, they have specialized tissues. These are almost spring-loaded capsules. They've got, so you have the cell that has a barb in it with a long whip-like tendril. This barb and the whip-like tendril has very toxins in it, usually a neurotoxin. It'll directly affect your nervous system. So that when you come in contact with it, you hit this trigger hair. That causes the burr to stick out and impale you. Literally, you are stabbed by the jellyfish, who then is able to inject neurotoxins into your system. For you, it's an annoyance. For smaller organisms, it will kill them or at the very least stun them so the jellyfish can eat it. And as you can imagine, if the jellyfish tried to eat a fish that was a decent-sized fish, and the fish tried to escape the jellyfish's stomach, it wouldn't be hard. It's just one opening. So the jellyfish has to sting it and paralyze it and then digest it. Have you guys ever been stung? Anybody been stung by a jellyfish? 1, 2, 3, about half of you. It sucks. It really does. Perhaps you've heard this idea of if you were to get stung by a jellyfish, you should pee on it. How many of you guys have heard that? Yeah. Yeah, you declined. That's it. Everyone, you hear this. You're like, quick, I got stung by a jellyfish. Pee on me. Don't pee on your friends. That's just not cool. When you think of jellyfish stings, they are literally a neurotoxin, 1. And 2, you just impaled yourself. You have little holes on you now. So having somebody pee on you is not really going to help. Also think about this. Usually you get stung, you leave the water, right? Here, I'll tell you my story. So there I was in the Potomac River. And, a while ago, sitting in the Potomac, and I'm walking along in the Potomac, probably about up to my waist. And I'm like, oops, did I pull that out? No. I felt like a bag. And I was like, oh, there's a bag. Well, I'm eco-conscious. I better remove the bag from the Potomac River. So I walked through it, and I was like, walk back, and I'm like, where is that bag? And I was like, oh, wait, there it is. I better get it. And I picked it up, and it was a jellyfish with its foot around. And then I was like, oh, well, this is going to hurt in a moment. And sure enough, stinging fire in my legs and now in my hands. So the first impulse, I got out of the water, I was with my family. My first impulse was actually throw it at my sister. But my second impulse, it's the way we live. My second impulse was, okay, I've got to take care of this. And I think to myself, as I always do in situations like this, I'm a biologist. I know how to handle this. And I went out, and even though I'm a biologist with lots and lots and lots of experience with this sort of thing, my mom was there. And so my degrees don't matter. My mom's like, let me tell you how to take care of this, and if you don't listen to me, I will annoy you for the next 3 hours. So she said, quick, go get a hose and pour water on it. That's a bad idea, too. Now, the Potomac where I was brackish water. That means it's got a higher salt content than normal. That's what this jellyfish like to live in, salt water. So what happens if you take a saltwater organism that's used to one level of solutes in the environment and subject it to pure water? Osmosis happens, and so all that water, that pure water that is hypotonic, now floods into that cell. It doesn't just explode. What happens before it explodes with all of these little nematocysts? Every single nematocyst that's left on me fired. Because my mom decided she knew best. So she put this fresh water on me, and of course, that leg, nematocysts go firing off like crazy. It doesn't help at all. It's really hard to get these cells off of you once they're attached. Okay, so what happens next? Okay, well, then they say, my mom, because she knows best, always, said, that didn't help. Put sand on it. Yeah, that didn't work either. I was like an hour and a half from home. I was like, thanks, Mom. Sand, that's a great idea. We're gonna go along with this because it's good. My pain is actually easier to sustain than listening to the nagging later. I mean, you're thinking way too far ahead. In fact, my idea was even easier than that. Where did this jellyfish want to be? In the water. The easiest way to remove jellyfish and to get rid of that sting is to literally go into the water. Don't hang out where the jellyfish was. But that same level, that same solute level, you can brush it off. You've still got some damage. Put an ointment on it. There's neurotoxins in you. You'll be fine eventually, assuming it's not a box jelly. We'll get into that in a second. What? I wouldn't put anything on it. Literally, I wouldn't put any ointment on it. Because once you get it off, your body's going to process those poisons. You're going to be fine. The trick is getting all of the nematocysts off while in the same level, in the same water that you got them in on, so that you maintain that isotonic environment. So it comes down to don't pee on your friends. No matter how much they ask you, well, okay, if you do what you do. Consenting adults, do whatever, I don't care. Fun jellyfish facts. The jellyfish has a complete gut. It doesn't have any organs, but by God, its gut works. It's able to produce enzymes and digest other organisms. Almost all of them are bioluminescent. They almost all produce light at night. It's really cool. If you can ever find a beach at night with no lights along the shining into the ocean, you're going to see reflections anyway, whether there's a moon or not, because there's all of these organisms that are lighting up. The box jelly is the most venomous animal in the world. That's right. Take a look at your thumb. You see your thumbnail? That's how big it is. Yeah. You saw a whole documentary on it? They're terrifying, aren't they? Don't go to Australia. I live in Australia. Don't go to Australia. That's going to be the theme for the rest of the course. Australia wants you dead. That should be their tourist slogan. Australia, we want you dead. Box jelly, the size of your thumb, will sting you, and the neurotoxin will kill you before you know you've been stung. Some of them are that venomous. I mean, it's a quick way to go, swimming along, and then you're dead. Excuse me again? Yeah, you can think of their armed stomachs. You know what eat jellyfish? Turtles. That's right. So yeah, crabs might eat turtles, but turtles eat jellyfish, and jellyfish can eat crabs. It's an insane paper, rock, scissors of the animal kingdom. I don't think so. I think usually they don't actually have conscious control over their nematocysts going off. They're just sort of swimming. You got in their way. So Neurotopsis nutricula is the only known animal that can live forever. It is immortal. Literally, it starts off as a polyp, it grows into a Medusa, and then it Benjamin Buttons itself and grows backwards back to a polyp. It has never been recorded. The DNA never breaks down. There's never more mutations. It just keeps going on and on and on forever and ever and ever until a turtle eats it. So, kind of cool.